For me, it's about making everything simple. So what I like to do is I just get a bag of frozen vegetable mix. I get some additional cut green beans, 2 containers of vegetable broth, low sodium. I get some red kidney beans for protein, some paste, a white onion, and I use zucchini instead of potatoes, so I can reduce the carb load, and it's a little bit healthier for you as well too. So I start off with the onion first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it long ways, so from root to stem. Then I'm going to take the time and I'm going to peel off the outer layer. The root is where all the odor comes from. So when you cut into the root, is that really going to put a lot of odor in the ear, and that's what's going to make your eyes pretty much tear up pretty bad. As you know, always peel off the outer area of the onion. That's usually the dried up stuff. Get down to where it's nice and moist for you. I use the entire white onion, so I'm going to do it on both sides. Now the way I dice it is I slice in about maybe a 1/4 inch away from, or about a 1/2 inch away from the root, a couple of slices long ways, and then I'm going to turn the onion sideways and just go right down. And what's nice about that is that what's going to come out is all these little tiny chunked up pieces of onion because they're layered up. So if you break it up, you see how they're already kind of diced up and they're nice and small for you. So kind of a quick way of doing that. And again, I used the entire onion for mine. Now I like to use zucchini instead of a potato. It's healthier for you, it has more antioxidants. I take a zucchini, I will slice it in half long ways, and then I put the flat part down, which makes it very easy to cut. And then I typically cut it into maybe thirds long ways. That one's a bad cut, so I'll redo this again. But once I have it sliced up into thirds on each side there, I'm going to line them up, and that's where I'm going to dice them. And then I'm going to have my nice zucchini chunks that I can just throw right into the soup. So again, I dice them. I try to make about the same size as I would if they were the potatoes. Next, in the Instant Pot, what you want to do is you want to add some extra virgin olive oil. And then you're going to turn the pot on saute. That's going to start to heat up the oil. Add in the onions and let the onions get cooked to the point that they're a little bit translucent. So that's going to actually sweeten up the onions for you. Go ahead and mix that around. Now what I like to do is, as that's sauteing, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my spices. I use thyme, parsley, and basil, salt, and pepper to help flavor up the soup. Once the onions have really kind of loosened up and they're translucent, you can add in the tomato paste. So you should be getting some pretty good steam off the pot. I like a lot of tomato paste, so I throw a pretty healthy amount into the base of that. Let that mix in with the onions. Go ahead and stir that around. So you're mixing the olive oil, the onions, the tomato paste. I leave the saute on at this time, and I also then season. I throw in my salt. I'll throw in some pepper in there. The seasonings that I have chosen work for me. You may want to change out the seasonings you're using. So the first one I'm going to put in there is a little bit of thyme. You could take about maybe a 1/2 tablespoon, 1/4 tablespoon. I just kind of eyeball it. I do that with the parsley as well. I just open up the container, shake it in, as you can see there. And again, these spices are up to you. I'll use basil as well. So I got a little bit of a mixture of seasonings. And again, just not really measuring, I just kind of sprinkle it in. Don't go too heavy at first. You can always add more later into the soup. Now mix this all in, and as you're doing this, it's going to start to stick to the bottom, which is great. So you're going to get some glazing on the bottom as you mix it up. Now turn the saute off. Now the next step is to take your vegetable broth, and then you're going to just put a tiny bit of vegetable broth into the bottom of the pan. And the reason why you're doing this is you want to deglaze the bottom of the pan. So that's where all the flavor is going to be. So I kind of work the wooden spoon around there, make sure I got everything off the sides, off the bottom, and mixed up into the soup itself. So again, that adds a lot of flavor in it for you. Okay, now add the rest of that open container of the veggie broth. Once that's all in there, I move to my mixed bag of vegetables. I just simply slice the top. Didn't do a good job there, but empty the entire bag in there. Like I told you before, I love cut green beans. They also have a lot of antioxidants. They're healthier for you. So I go ahead and just open up the entire bag, and I just throw an entire bag worth of string beans in there. Again, you can put in whatever vegetables you like to have in your soup. You want some squash in there, put some squash. Some spinach, put some spinach in there. Although I would put spinach in at the end. Okay, so once you have all the green beans and the veggies in there, I usually like to throw some additional protein. Actually, this was Brittany's idea. I always rinse the beans I have. They always start off, when you start to rinse them, they're really sudsy. You keep rinsing them until you don't see any of the suds anymore. Once you get to that level there, you've rinsed off a lot of the byproducts that can upset people's stomachs. Some people have no problem with it, but I just have always done this. Throw that right into the Instant Pot. Then I take my zucchinis. I will throw those inside of there as well too. And that's really all the ingredients that I'm using for the most part in my version of a healthy vegetable soup. Now the only difference here is that what I probably should have done, excuse me, is mixed all these. So always check your level. I take the last container of the broth. I'm going to pour that all the way in, make sure I don't exceed the maximum level on there. And then this would have been a good time for me to actually stir it, but this time I forgot to stir it. I just went ahead and I put the lid straight on there. All right, so once you have the lid on, put your pressure valve onto the top of it. Set the pressure cook, and you're going to set it for 2 to 3 minutes. I like 3 minutes. Also, I make sure that I get the confirmation that it has turned on, and then I also let it cook all the way through, and then I let it sit for several hours, just heating up and warming to really get the flavors into the rest of the soup. And when it's done, what I like to do is I leave it on low, and I'll let it sit for literally 4 to 5, 6 hours, let everything just kind of like saute together. And then that's pretty much it. So it's really simple, very fast, easy to do, and healthy.